Hello, everybody. This is Why Aren't We in Charge with Ethan Greenberg and Jeffrey Roby. I'm Josh Leeper, guys. It is week 15 in the NFL season. And boy, we got some good games, but also, we got some pretty bad games as well. We got a lot of good teams versus bad teams. We'll get through the slate and give you our picks for this Saturday and Sunday. Yes, we got NFL football on Saturday this week, and it's great to see because we got that and we got college football championship games going on. Guys, how we feeling heading into this week?
I can't believe it's this late in the season already. I feel like it just started, honestly.
All of 2020 is just a block, and it's not. There's no, there's no expansion over time. There's no little linear progression. It's all just in your little cylinder. It's all just one on top of another, everything at the same time. Like it's week 15.
It's
It is
still
week
March.
15. Exactly. It hasn't ended.
Yeah,
It's
this
March
is still the middle of
2020
March.
forever.
Exactly.
But it's crazy. I mean, this season has been a bit of a wash for my franchise. It doesn't count. It's fake. Thank you, Portnoy. He says the same things. COVID season doesn't count. But it's fine. It's fine.
Well, we'll get to your team, Jeffrey, the Patriots, in just a few minutes. But guys, let's just get right to it. Let's start out with the two Saturday games that we have. Tomorrow, we got the Bills and the Broncos. Bills are minus 6.5. Is the line. Let's first talk about this game before we get into it. The Bills coming off a big victory last week on Sunday Night Football against the Steelers, and they looked really good on both sides of the ball. Josh Allen doing well. The Bills defense looking good. Let's talk about Josh Allen for a second here. Jeff, I'll start with you. How impressed have you been with the play of Josh Allen this year? He's really taken a huge step in his growth this season.
He really has. It's the mental understanding. You're not seeing as many of those classic Josh Allen miscues where he fumbles the ball while taking a sack or something like that. Late in the game, he's trying to make a play and just forces a pass where it doesn't need to be forced. He's gotten rid of most of those mistakes. Sometimes it does happen still, but you can see that he's evolving as a passer, and it's making the Bills so much more dangerous. This team is built to dominate with the defense, force you into tough decisions offensively, and then take big plays over the top now that they have the speed, the skill to take advantage of those things with Stephon Diggs, with, John Brown's hurt, but with him, Cole Beasley, as always, fantastic in the slot. The Bills are such a complete football team, and Sean McDermott's really done a very good job in creating the culture there.
The Bills, you mentioned, sorry, Ethan, to cut you off there,
All
but
good.
the Bills, you mentioned the Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen connection, Jeff. Stephon Diggs, he's got 100 catches this year, tied for the most in the league with Keenan Allen. The Bills, as an offense, second and third down percentage. That's something that Josh Allen has done very well in, has improved on. Fourth in passing yards this per game this season. Let's talk about, Ethan, I'll get to you in a second here. But let's talk more about Stephon Diggs and the connection he has with Josh Allen. Ethan, if you want to chime in on this, you can. But how much of a factor and how much of an influence has Stephon Diggs played on Josh Allen's success?
I mean, he's been huge, and that's, people would think that's kind of obvious, but what he has done, he's added a safety blanket for Josh Allen. And it used to be Cole Beasley, but I mean, let's be honest, Cole Beasley is not this imposing receiver who's going to strike fear in opposing defenses. Getting Stephon Diggs in the offseason has allowed Brian Daboll to create like a tailor-made offense for Josh Allen. They can move him out of the pocket. They can use his athleticism. They use his arm strength. And like, if you notice on the Sunday night game against Pittsburgh, the first half, they couldn't do anything on offense. Really, neither team could. But then in the second half, they just started feeding Stephon Diggs. They were getting him the ball in space, and no one on Pittsburgh can tackle him because he's so good in open areas. And that has allowed Josh Allen to really become impossible to tackle because if he gets out of the pocket, he's either going to scramble because he's fast, or he's going to find one of his safety blankets, Stephon Diggs, open in the flat, or Cole Beasley underneath. And it's made it impossible to defend. And I said on last week's show that I think that Josh Allen has been a top 5 quarterback this year. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. It just speaks to his growth. I don't think anyone thought this when the Bills drafted him a few years ago, that he would be this good, this fast.
I totally agree. I still have some reservations about Josh Allen specifically winning games in the playoffs, because I think that's when those mental errors come back. And you saw it last season, where he fumbles out of bounds trying to make an extra play against who was it late? I forget, in the playoffs last year. But he made, down the stretch of the playoff game last year, he made a couple mental mistakes that I'm not sure he's completely gotten rid of, and I wouldn't put it past him to have like one season-killing mistake in the playoffs that ultimately screws the Bills over. But next year, I think this team is very, very scary.
But Jeff,
I'm concerned.
What I will say about like his decision making, his numbers in the red zone this year are like video game like. There's no
He's
one
incredible.
there is no one close to him in the red zone, and I think that's just all decision making. He's understanding when a play is not there, and he's throwing the ball away this year more than he did last year. As you say, he's not forcing things.
That's true. And the thing with the red zone is he's basically Cam Newton, just with an arm and a shoulder to match. And instead of having the Patriots' terrible skill positions, they actually have good players. They have Stephon Diggs, they have Cole Beasley, they have John Brown. They have guys that can make plays in the red zone. And that helps when your quarterback is also 6'5", 215, and will run a guy over if he feels like it. It's so easy for him to pick apart a defense. If he rolls out right, maybe he throws crossbody to Beasley on the side. He's got Stephon Diggs isolated outside, or he'll just run it in on his own, because he'll run over a defender to do so. It's so easy for him, but I still have reservations about them being a Super Bowl contender. But this team could be playing in the AFC title game.
Josh Allen has definitely been a major centerpiece for this Bills offense and this Bills team, as a matter of fact. He's one of the reasons why, if not the main reason why, the Bills are one of the top teams in the National Football League. Going back to Diggs, I mentioned second in targets behind Keenan Allen, third in yards behind Kelsey and Metcalf. Stephon Diggs, he wanted out of Minnesota. He felt like he wasn't getting enough attention. Now he's getting that attention, and he's making it all worthwhile with the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about the Broncos for a second here. They got a good win last week against the Carolina Panthers, an impressive win for Drew Lock and company. They're not going to be in the playoffs this year. I don't know if they're still in contention. I don't think so. But let's talk about Drew Lock's growth here for a second. How much of a is this a big game for him, Ethan? And what does Drew Lock have to do to pull off the upset here?
Well, I think every game that Drew Lock plays is a big game, because I don't think there's anything guaranteed for him. I don't know how John Elway feels about him. We know they've struggled to find that next quarterback ever since Peyton retired. I've never really been that super impressed with Drew Lock. He has some really good moments where it's like, wow, maybe he can be a starter in this league. And then he has some of those just mind-boggling decisions that make you go, okay, this is why he's not going to be the future. But it's also not super fair to him, because he doesn't have a lot around him. He has a lot of young receivers. They're talented, but they're still young. Obviously, he has Pat Shurmur, which is a problem. Melvin Gordon's good, but they haven't really established their run game throughout the year. That and Phillip Lindsay, like, they have two good running backs. They haven't really relied on them, and their defense hasn't really been that great. Granted, they've been hurt, but I don't know what to make of the Broncos. Every game is a big game for Drew Lock if he wants to continue playing in the NFL.
Yeah, and a big key in this game, for me at least, and Jeff, I'm going to ask you for your key after this. Drew Lock can't turn the ball over in this game. That's just, if the Broncos want to have any chance of winning this game, Drew Lock cannot turn the ball over. The Bills' defense last week kind of came alive against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 interceptions against Ben Roethlisberger, 1 forced fumble. They had a pick 6 in the game. So this Bills defense can turn it on, especially, this Broncos offense, it's very shaky on and off. But I do think Drew Lock has the weapons there. And that's one of the things about this Broncos team that I'm actually excited about is their weapons on offense. You've got Jerry Jeudy, a rookie, KJ Hamler, a rookie. KJ Hamler's been great over the last couple of weeks. Noah Fant is a young and upcoming tight end. And Tim Patrick as well. Tim Patrick's having a really good season. Drew Lock's got the weapons. It's all about, can he stay focused? Can he stay in the game? Can he keep his team in the game by not turning the ball over? Jeff, I'll go to you here. What is the key for the Broncos to pull off the upset?
You're so right in that it's got to be a turnover-free game from Drew Lock. You can't give the Bills easy possessions. And I don't know. I don't think the Broncos have enough to do it. I will be taking the Bills -6 in this game. I think it's a very easy number to lay. They'll win by a touchdown, if not more. But there are going to be a couple times where KJ Hamler is going to break free for a 45-yard bomb. Like Denver has some good skill position players. They throw Tim Patrick in there who can make some plays. Once they get Cortland Sutton back from his injury, he'll be legit. Noah Fant, as you said, is very, very good at tight end. And they're going to be okay in the next few years. I think Drew Lock could be the franchise signal caller for Denver, but he maxes out at like a Kirk Cousins ceiling for me, where you got to put a lot of pieces around him, but he's capable of elevating that team at least a little.
That's exactly what I think. That is like the perfect comparison. He's the ultimate Kirk Cousins. He's really nothing special. But really, like Denver, they don't really have any other options at the moment, so they might as well ride with him. I also don't think that they have enough to pull off this upset. I also think that Buffalo has been really good on the road this year in certain situations. So I will also be laying the -6.5. I'm not sold on Denver, and their defense is so banged up. It's been hurt the entire year. I don't see any way in which they do it. Their only chance is, as you said, Jeff, no turnovers. You can't give Buffalo short fields, and they might need to take advantage of some special teams plays themselves. They might need some good punt returns, kick returns, set up Drew Lock in short fields, really give him a chance to minimize his mistakes. But I don't see it happening.
I'm with you guys on that too. I got the Bills -6. I'll also tease them to a pick 'em or a -0.5, whatever it is. I'll give you guys my lock teaser at the end of the show. Yeah, like you guys said, this is I think the Bills are going to be all over the Broncos here. Broncos don't have the firepower, don't have enough to keep up with Josh Allen. Josh Allen he's been incredible this season, and I expect him to keep it going this week, this Saturday against against the Denver Broncos. Panthers versus the Packers. That's our second game on Saturday. It'll be a Saturday night game. Packers start out at -8 in this one. The Panthers coming off a crushing loss last week, Jeff. No CMC this week. Again, he's 11th straight, or not 11th straight, but 11th game missed this season. Do the Panthers have any shot here, Jeff?
I think they have a shot. I think the Panthers are actually a decent team that's just been beset by injuries. I mean, they have some on the defensive side of the ball as well, especially in that front seven. But without CMC, this team doesn't beat the Packers. I was very hopeful. I wanted to pick the Panthers this week. I was excited. CMC was going to come back. I think the Packers are not that legit, but I have to go with the Packers here, especially. I can't pick the Panthers to lay that number without CMC and such a explosive Packers offense that we've talked about on this show. Aaron Rodgers loves to pick on bad defenses and bad teams. It's what he does. It's what he lives for. And this Packers offense is the best in the league points wise. They score 31.5 points a game, something like that. And they're scary. Devontae Adams is a scary matchup on the perimeter. The guy runs routes like a ballerina. It's gorgeous. So I think the Packers just clean house in this game. I really wanted to go against that pick earlier on the show when Josh and I were talking, but I have to take the Packers -8 here. Rodgers just plays too well against bad teams.
Yeah, the Panthers really, really struggling. They've lost 7 of their last 8. Teddy Bridgewater is 3-9 as the starter this year, which kind of surprised me. Um, Panthers are 23rd against the pass. That's not going to cut it against one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game in Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about the Packers. They've won 3 straight. Devontae Adams, like you mentioned, Jeff, 8 straight games with a touchdown catch. Third longest streak in the Super Bowl era. He's got 14 touchdowns. That's tied with Tyreek Hill for most in the league. And I expect him to get another touchdown this week. I think Devontae Adams is going to go off against the struggling Panthers secondary, who really only has one good player, and that's a rookie named Jeremy Chin, who leads all rookies in tackles this season. But going back to the Packers, they clinched the NFC North with their win last week, and they share the NFC's best record with the New Orleans Saints. Jeff, I want to go back to you for this. You have said that the Packers are frauds, just like the Steelers, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I want to give you the floor here to tell us why you think the Packers defense is not as good as what people think, because they are, the numbers say differently. The numbers say that they're ranked 8th overall in the league in total defense. So give me a reason to believe that the Packers defense isn't legit.
Well, you can say all the yardage numbers you want, whether it's against the run, against the pass. The way that I rank my defense is that if they prevent points, I like them. The Packers right now are an average defense in terms of preventing points. They're 17th in the league. They give up almost 25 a game, which is fine for them because the offense is going to score 30. But this defense doesn't hold you to under 3 touchdowns, and that's my good to great number. If you're holding teams around that 3 touchdown marks or even below, you're a great defense. If you're above, if you're giving up almost 28 points a game into that 3 to 4 touchdown range, that's an average team, because that's a defense that your offense has to win for, rather than the defense winning games. That means your offense has to go out there and put up points every week, or you're not going to win. So I think it's fine. They're very average. I like the secondary, actually. I love Jair Alexander. I love Adrian Amos. And the front seven has some good people on the line. I know Kenny Clark is a monster, but they don't excite me. I don't see them forcing a lot of turnovers. There's not a lot of they just don't do anything well. You know what I mean? They do everything fine, but nothing stands out to me about that defense. And
I agree.
that's why I don't think the Packers have that next level.
Yeah, I could see that, and I agree with you about. I love Jair Alexander. He's one of my favorite players, young players on defense this year. He's really stood out. One thing that's not average about this Packers team is their offense. Their offense is incredible, led by Aaron Rodgers. 39 touchdown passes this season. That's most in the league. Packers are scoring the most points per game at 31.5, like you mentioned, Jeff. They lead the league in time of possession average, 33 minutes. And Rodgers, first quarterback to throw for at least 39 touchdowns and under 5 interceptions in the first 13 games. Ethan, Aaron Rodgers, this is one of the more focused I've seen Aaron Rodgers play this year. He's making everything look so effortless. How much, looking more big picture here, how much of a threat are the Packers to not only the NFC, but to the entire league?
I think they are a legitimate threat. And just remember when people said that him and Matt LaFleur wouldn't get along and it wouldn't work. Well, that really is just not true. He's really thrived in the last 2 years. As far as a threat to the rest of the NFC, I think that they are the best team in the NFC just because I'm not sold on the Saints. I'm sold on the Saints defense. They have a much better defense than the Packers do, but I've been saying it all year. I don't think that Drew Brees has it anymore. I don't think he has the arm strength. They can't move the ball downfield. And I think if we got a Saints-Packers matchup, I think Aaron Rodgers would absolutely outduel Drew Brees. But in terms of threats for the entire NFL, if the Packers run into the Chiefs, I don't see any way the Chiefs don't blow them out. I just don't. The Packers would not be able to stop Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City's offense once. It's just not happening. As far as the game tomorrow goes, I originally wanted to take the Panthers, but then I kind of looked deeper into the numbers. Green Bay's 5-1 at home. The Panthers are 2-4 on the road. You guys mentioned the points per game, points allowed. It's a really bad matchup for Carolina. They don't have Christian McCaffrey. Teddy Bridgewater hasn't been great. I don't see a way and that this game ends anything under than a double-digit Packer win, so I'll easily lay the -7.5. The Packers still have things to play for. As you mentioned, they still are trying to get the number 1 seed, so I don't think that they're just going to mail it in. I don't see this going any other way but a Packers blowout.
I couldn't
Yep.
agree more. I want to say otherwise, but it has to be.
Well, Packers only 9 turnovers. I forgot to mention this year. That's tied for the least with the Titans. And Jeff, you mentioned their defense, being fine. They got 14 sacks in the last 3 games. I'll take that. Mason Crosby, perfect on the season so far. We don't mention kickers that much, but Mason Crosby, people were calling for his job a couple of years ago, and he's looking good so far.
On those
one
last
guy,
3 games, though, Josh, I don't mean to interject, but they played the Lions, the Eagles, the Bears.
yeah,
Not the most imposing offenses. And I believe, was that Lions game without Stafford, or was that the one with Stafford?
for like
yeah, 2 seconds.
Stafford got
right?
out with in the fourth quarter, I think.
Not the most imposing collection of offenses there.
Yeah, and one player to look out for, I think, guys, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think we could see a big game out of him against a struggling Panthers secondary. Rodgers could look to go deep a lot in this game. Also, what about Robert Tonyan? My boy Robert Tonyan. I love him. I'm thinking about starting him in fantasy. I don't know. It's either him or Mark Andrews. I gotta decide. But Rodgers got to go Tonyan. I might have to.
Mark Andrews, COVID having bum has been screwing me all year in fantasy. He does not produce consistently. Go Tonyan. And since this is a betting show, I'll give everyone listening at home a player prop. I want an Equanimeous St. Brown touchdown from Aaron Rodgers. First touchdown scorer, Equanimeous St. Brown. I will write that down in my notes and yell about it next week if it happens.
I also, a quick note on your boy Robert Tonyan. He has 9 touchdowns this year. I think that is insanity. He is the ultimate red zone target for Aaron Rodgers outside of Devontae Adams, who I feel like Devontae Adams scores most of his touchdowns outside the red zone. They're kind of 30 or 35-yard touchdown catches that he makes. Robert Tonyan, when he scored the last game and the announcer said that he had 9 touchdowns, I had to rewind. This guy has 9 touchdowns.
He's been throwing to Jace Sternberger for years. You think he's ecstatic to throw to Robert Tonyan? Are you kidding me?
I know. I mean, that's how electric their offense has been the whole year. So that's a great pick, Josh.
Yeah, 4 straight games with a touchdown for Robert Tonyan, the tight end, big tight end. My boy, Robert Tonyan. I'm going to go agree with you guys here. Packers -8. I'll include them in a teaser too. I think it's just too juicy not to take the Packers in this game. You guys have a final score prediction here? I'll go 31-21 in favor of the Pack.
I don't have a final score prediction, but because you were mentioning your teaser, how about a little Saturday NFL teaser? The Bills -0.5 and the Packers -1.5 or -1, whatever that is.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a lock of a teaser.
That's a really good teaser. I'm going to go put a lot of money on that. I'm going to definitely put some money on that.
I expect a percentage. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think anyone.
Knowing your luck, we'll see.
I think anyone can make that teaser and win. I think. Let's move on to Sunday's slate here. So we got 3 games to talk about in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll talk about 1 in the 4 o'clock, and then Sunday Night Football. Let's start out with Bucks and Falcons. This game might be a blowout to some, but the Falcons could keep up here, Jeff. No Julio Jones though, and Matt Ryan last game. Oh boy, absolutely brutal. 3 interceptions last week against the Chargers. Falcons locked into their third straight losing season. Jeff, what do the Falcons have to do to pull off the upset here after the Bucks had a pretty good game last week against the Vikings?
They're going to have to figure out how to deal with this offense. I know that the Buccaneers offense is up and down like a roller coaster, but it's got a lot of pieces and it should be up this week. I don't think the Falcons are that good. They're decent defensively. They held the Chargers to 20 points, and that's an all right offense. But I expect a lot more out of Brady here. And I got a fun stat today, Falcons wise. I love picking on the Falcons, of course, as a Patriots fan. Since the unforgettable 28 to 3 loss to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, the Falcons are 28-33. Just really fitting numbers from Atlanta, and it's expected. Belichick ruined this franchise. He ruined Matt Ryan. They can't compete down the stretch anymore. They can't win close games anymore, and it's a mentality thing. There's the seed of Belichick, always rattling around in there. Oh, am I going to throw this game? Am I going to lose this lead late? Nobody loses leads like the Falcons. Nobody blows games like Matt Ryan and the Falcons. And this is going to be murder from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love the line. Sick by a touchdown is easy. I'd be a little more scared if it was +8, or -8, but -6.5 for the Bucks. Absolutely slam this number.
Yeah, and Buccaneers are coming off a good win last week. Tom Brady looked good. Not great though, I will say. Atlanta though has won 6 of the last 7 meetings in this series against the Buccaneers. That was before the Buccaneers got Tom Brady. But yeah, Ethan, you had a tough time with Matt Ryan last week, and you're shaking your head right now. You have something to vent about with the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, well, this is disgraceful. The organization is a disgrace. I the only like I took them last week because the only team that can out Falcons the Falcons is the Chargers, and even they couldn't do it. I mean, Matt Ryan, I have a question for the two of you. How on earth did this man win an MVP? How? It makes absolutely no sense. This guy cannot manage a game to save his life. If anyone missed the end of that stupid game last week, the Falcons were in field goal range or just outside of field goal range with about 40 seconds left. And Matt Ryan inexplicably not only throws the ball, but throws an interception. And then obviously the Chargers go down and kick a game-winning field goal. And I lose my bet and they lose the game. And everyone's sad. But I am done betting on the Atlanta Falcons. And as you said, Jeff, this number it's very comfortable for me. I'm fine laying the -6. I think Brady, I call his second half of the year whenever he comes back off of his bye. They are one week removed from the bye. I think they're going to really start getting into a groove these last couple of weeks into the playoffs. They still haven't secured a playoff spot, so it's not like they can just screw around here.
Mm-hmm.
I expect them to go out and win this game by double digits. The Falcons, I mean, we've all destroyed the Falcons the entire year. They're just not good. They don't know how to win. Matt Ryan stinks. I will lay the number, no problem. Bucks -6, easy.
You know what? I'm kind of worried about this game here. I kind of could see that the Falcons could keep this game a little close. So, while I do like the Bucks -6, Julio's been hurt the entire year, and
He's not playing.
I know. Yeah, he's out, and I would highly recommend. I'm not a Julio fan anymore. I'm really out on Julio Jones. This guy can't. No, he can't. He can't stay healthy, and that's a big problem for me. When was the last time he put a full season together? I can't remember.
God knows, but if I was him, I wouldn't want to play full season in Atlanta anyway.
Absolutely not.
You're right. But anyways, I'll tease the Buccaneers to a pick 'em. I know
Julio
I
can come to
don't.
New England in the offseason. He'll
Yeah,
have a
he
great
could.
time. It'll be just like, dude, I'm telling you, this is the offseason of Patriots wide receiver acquisition.
They
It's
need him.
it's Allen Robinson, it's Julio, it's one of them. It's the Randy Moss trick all over. It's happening again.
Well,
Delusion.
let's talk about your Patriots, Jeff. They are visiting the Miami Dolphins, who just came off a loss against the unbelievable Kansas City Chiefs. This line opened at -3 in favor of the Dolphins. It has now shifted. The Dolphins are -1.5. This line looks a little sketchy to me. Ethan, I'll start with you on this one. How can you not take the Dolphins here at -1.5 with the struggling Patriots offense after just getting blown out by the Rams 24-3 and Cam Newton not looking great? Although he's looking good at the rush with rushing, how can you not take the Dolphins here?
I mean, this is one of those games where you look at the line and you kind of have to think a little deeper. Like, why is it this way? All my instincts tell me to take the Dolphins because the Patriots, they can't score, they can't move the ball. Like, Cam Newton can't throw. They have no, I mean, as Jeff has beautifully articulated, they have no skill position. They have terrible wide receivers. They can't move the ball. So my original pick was the Dolphins -1.5, but I have called an audible and I've changed to a total for this game. I love the under in this game. Absolutely love it. Divisional game, two coaches know each other well. When that happens, they get more conservative. I expect longer drives. There's not going to be a lot of possessions in this game. I don't see a way in which the Patriots get into the end zone like twice. So I think this game is so clearly going under. So I will take under 42. But if we're not doing totals here and I have to lean aside, I would lean the Dolphins because the Patriots just aren't good.
Yeah, and first of all, what is the over under?
I believe last time I checked, it was at 42. Let me double check right now.
Okay,
It
check for that.
It's at 41.5
Okay,
right now, which
okay.
is already low, but I expect it to be in the low 30s, the final score.
Well, I will definitely uh, be expecting a Dolphins defense turnover in this game. The Dolphins have forced a turnover in every single game this season. Very impressive. Brian Flores doing an unbelievable job with this defense. Let's not even, last week's game against the Chiefs, you're automatically going to give up 30 points. So let's not put that game in the record books for the Dolphins defense. Xavier Howard, 9 interceptions, the most in the league. It seems like this guy forces a turnover every week. Miami 10-3 against the spread against this Patriots team who's 6-7 against the spread. Jeff, let's talk about your Patriots here. What's going to be the key here to get any sort of offense in this game?
They have to be able to run the ball. I'm hoping that I hear nothing about COVID or injuries along the front line, the offensive line for the Patriots this weekend, because Cam Newton's going to throw a pick. I would put legitimately my future mortgage of my house, my future house, on Cam Newton throwing a pick on Sunday. It is going to happen. And I don't know why this line is 1.5. I think the Dolphins are a better overall team. I think currently they're playing better. I think the defense and special teams is playing better than the Patriots. And by far and away, the offense is more skill positions and is playing better.
Would you feel comfortable laying the number in that situation?
No, absolutely not. This game,
exactly.
That's why I said it. I hate this game. This line is incorrect, but I have to take the Patriots because if I'm going to live and die with anyone, it's going to be my team.
All right, Seahawks -6 against the Washington football team. That's our next game to look at here. Jeff, we'll start with you here. Seahawks dominated last week against the hopeless New York Jets. They won 40-3, covered all of our spreads, which was very nice. but they run into a very tough challenge here. Russell Wilson, career high 36 touchdowns, but he's also got a career high of 12 interceptions against this Washington football defense that has really impressed in their 4-game winning streak that they have. Coach Ron Rivera leading his team very well this season, and especially in the NFC least. That is the worst division in football. Jeff, what are your impressions of this game?
I love the football team in this game. I mean, their defense is just built to beat the Seahawks up front. We know how terrible that offensive line is, and they can't protect Russell Wilson. I think you said it earlier, Josh. This is his most interceptions in a season ever for Russell Wilson, and this comes after his incredible start. He was on fire to start this season, and it has been such a turnaround for the Seahawks. It's been incredible. They beat up on the hapless Jets last week. And this team, I think they run into a very tough team this week. I'm taking the football team +6. I think them defensively, I think the run game wise, I think they're better than the Seahawks. My only concern is DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett just freaking out. Because that was what was happening at the beginning of the year. It was when those two were working in tandem, both going over 100 yards in the same game. That's when the Seahawks were at their most dangerous, and they haven't been there since that point. So I'll take the football team +6, and I'll be happy with it.
This game is going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to be a great game. Contrary to what some people probably think, they think, oh, Washington football team playing against the Seahawks are going to destroy them. I don't know about that. I'll first start off with the Seahawks. Offensively, they're averaging 30 points a game, third in the league. Red zone offense, they are terrific in the red zone at 74.5%. That's second in the league. However, though, their running game hasn't been so good. Chris Carson hasn't had a game over 80 yards this season. I know he was hurt, but they're going to run into so many problems with this Washington front four. This rushing attack may not really do anything against the football team. DK Metcalf, like you mentioned, Jeff, he's having a terrific season, second in receiving yards. That's only behind Travis Kelce.
Well, wait a second. I just got breaking news real quick from
Whoa.
Adam Schefter. Alex Smith is out for Sunday's game against Seattle. Dwayne Haskins will start.
Well, that changes a lot.
Let's adjust accordingly.
I don't know if he's going to make a difference in this game. And Jeff, I don't know if that changes your pick here. But I will say Seattle's defense has picked it up in the last couple of weeks. Yes, they do have the worst. They allow the most passing yards in the league this year, top in the NFL. But in the last 7 games, they have 27 sacks. So their defensive line is coming together here. If they get pressure on Dwayne Haskins, there's no shot Washington wins this football game. Dwayne Haskins has shown in the past he cannot handle the pressure. He'll turn the ball over if he feels that pressure. So I'm gonna take Seattle here in a teaser. I don't know if they can cover -6. A lot of teasing games this week for me. But the one thing I'm going to look out for here in this game, Seattle's offense versus Washington's defense. Seattle, Russell Wilson, he's got the arm, he's got the ability to throw touchdowns, but he's also got the ability of turning the ball over. That Washington front four could cause a lot of pressure, and that could force Seattle to turn the ball over, in particular Russell Wilson. And a guy on that Washington front four, Ethan, his name is Chase Young, the second overall pick in the draft. 5.5 sacks this year. He's leading all rookies. And last week, Chase Young put on a performance, absolutely destroying the 49ers. And I'm proud to announce that I did have the Washington football team last week. So, Ethan, I'll go to you here. What's your impressions on this game? What are you looking out for most?
Well, my original impression, was going to be how the defense performs against Russell Wilson, but now it's kind of flipped. how's Dwayne Haskins going to perform against that Seattle defense, which has been really terrible? And I know that you've said they've picked it up the last couple of weeks. They did play the Giants with Colt McCoy, and they did play the Jets, so that will help pad some stats over the last couple of weeks. But if you look at the numbers, Washington's defense is top 10 in passing yards and in rushing yards per game. And on the other side of the ball, Seattle is they are 7th in passing yards per game and they're 11th in rush yards. I figured they would be a lot worse than that because Chris Carson really hasn't broken out. But I expect Seattle to cover in this game, so I'm changing my pick from Washington to Seattle because if Seattle gets a lead, which they will, I don't see a way in which Dwayne Haskins is going to lead a comeback. I don't see him putting the ball in the air and doing it effectively. The only way that Washington has a shot in this game is if they can manage it, and if they can manage it by having the lead and controlling the football and keeping Russell Wilson on the sideline. But I just don't see that happening. I think that Russell Wilson will connect with DK Metcalf for at least one touchdown today, or on Sunday. So if there's a prop out there with plus money for DK to get a touchdown, I would be all over that prop. But other than that, Seattle -6.5, and I think this is a good spot, Josh, as you mentioned, to tease the Seahawks down to a lower number. But with Dwayne Haskins starting, I just don't see a way in which Washington does it.
Also, big thing that could, impact a bet here is Antonio Gibson's status, which is up in the air right now. For me, I am a huge J.D. McKissic fan. I have him on both of my fantasy teams, and I'm debating whether to start him this week. And Jeff, I want to ask you a fantasy question here before I go to your pick. Should I start Terry McLaurin this week? Because Terry, he's only caught 2 passes in the last 2 weeks, and he's got no touchdowns. So is this a good week for Terry McLaurin to go off, and especially now that Dwayne Haskins is the starting quarterback?
Well, I don't know Terry McLaurin's rapport with Dwayne Haskins. I have to look at the stats on how he's done with Haskins in the lineup.
Sorry to cut you off, but they did play together at Ohio State, so maybe that could play a factor.
I like that more. I mean, as a younger QB, things tighten up a little bit. You go to the guys who you trust. He's known him for longer. I think it's a good play. And the way that I like to run fantasy, if you put together back-to-back stinkers, you're due. You're absolutely due. And the Seahawks can't cover anything. Literally zero. So I have no reservations about playing Terry McLaurin this week. I think it'll be a pass-heavy game, especially because I expect the Seahawks to destroy them. So if the Seahawks jump out to a quick 7-0, 10-0 lead, the football team's going to have to be slinging it to get their team back into contention. So I like McLaurin this week, and I will be pick switching, roll the duct tape over it, give me a Sharpie. I'll write the football team in there, take them out, get rid of that. Seahawks -6.
Yeah, it's crazy how, one quarterback change could shift a pick here. Well, that's why we're here for you, Ed. Why aren't we in charge? Let's talk about the big game of the week. Probably the best game of the week. Chiefs -3 at New Orleans. Drew Brees is back for New Orleans. Chiefs coming off a win last week, of course. They are now 12-1 this season. But last week, Pat Mahomes, 3 interceptions, which was quite a surprise. He had more interceptions in that game than he did all season prior to that. So Mahomes, 3 interceptions doesn't faze him. He still drops 30 points on a good defense. And he's playing against probably, I think, the best defense in the league. Ethan, we'll go to you quick here. What's your take on this one?
Well, my take on this one is Kansas City is going to win this game easily. I think this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be a very high-scoring game. This is Kansas City's final road game of the year. They are 7-0. I don't know how many teams have gone with perfect records on the road in NFL history, but I think that's an interesting stat. The Saints defense is top 5 against the pass and against the run, but it's not going to matter because they haven't faced Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and company, they will have their way. And you guys have heard what I think about Drew Brees. I think his time is done. The noodle arm, Drew Brees can't throw the ball downfield. And if you're going to be behind multiple scores against Kansas City, you're going to have to move the ball quickly. They're not going to be capable of doing that. And it's going to be even harder if they don't have Michael Thomas. So I will lay the -3. I think the Chiefs can easily cover and win by more than the field goal.
This game really depends on if the Saints can come out hot. As an Alvin Kamara fantasy owner, I would love a heavy dose of Alvin Kamara to start this football game. If they need to play run control, possession football here. Drew Brees can't throw the ball more than 7 yards. We've talked about that. If he actually plays the entirety of the game this week, I'm not convinced that he will, because he might take a shot and puncture his lung again. I don't understand how you come back in 5 weeks after a punctured lung, but that's neither here nor there. But the Saints are such a question mark with all the injuries, all the offensive rotation they have going on right now, that it's a different offense week to week. Taysom Hill can throw the ball much farther than Drew Brees can currently. So the game plan's been changed over the last few weeks. They're now going to have to revert back to what they were doing at the beginning of the year, going back to Drew Brees. So if the Chiefs are ready for a heavy dose of swing passes to Kamara and inside rushes, they'll probably do very well, because the Saints are going to be limited. Drew Brees is not this passer anymore that he once was. He's got the accuracy, but there's no velocity on the ball. And I love the Chiefs here as much as I want to take the Saints.
Yeah, Jeff, and you bring up a good point with, Drew Brees. Is he coming back too soon here? That injury is very serious. I mean,
Broke a bunch of ribs, punctured a lung. He's like, nah, dude, I'll be fine in a few weeks.
he was sipping steaks out of straws, for crying out
Football
loud.
guy.
Well, I do want to
Football
add
guy.
one thing about this game. I believe that the Saints should, if they win the coin toss, they should take the ball first. I know that we've never done this on this show before, but I think they should really take the ball first, because if you allow the Chiefs to march down the field 5 minutes into the game, get a touchdown, and you're already playing from behind, I think that makes things a lot worse. Get Drew Brees the ball first, put together a nice game plan, a nice a scheduled drive, make it a long drive, keep Mahomes off the field, get Drew Brees back involved, get him some confidence, some easy throws, maybe get a lead first. I think that's absolutely what they should be doing.
Let me go quick here. Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs -3. The only chance the Saints have in this game is if they control time of possession. They got to keep the ball out of the Chiefs' hands, out of Pat Mahomes' hands. Drew Brees has to be a time manager in this game. That's the only chance I give him. Like you said, Ethan, the Saints' defense has not played against an offense like the Chiefs, against a player like Pat Mahomes. Let's talk about the last game here quick. Browns at the Giants. Sunday Night Football. Browns in back-to-back primetime games. Browns 3-0 against the NFC East, and the Browns have scored more than 40 points in 2 straight games. The Giants, on the other hand, coming off a tough loss. Daniel Jones obviously not healthy. It looked like it the entire game. He wasn't able to move outside the pocket. That's why the Giants lost that game, in my opinion. The Browns are playing very well on offense right now, Ethan. Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind. But will that continue against this Giants defense with James Bradbury out and, the defense on its heels here? Can the Giants defense keep them in this game on Sunday night?
I really don't think so. And that's just because I don't think the Giants are going to score. And it just puts their defense such a tough spot. The Browns have beaten the Giants just one time since the year 2000, and that was in 2008. But that will change on Sunday night, because they're going to have no problem with the Giants. As much as it pains me to say, the Giants, they're done. Daniel Jones is compromised, but they're going to continue to play him for no reason. They're missing their best player on defense, and James Bradbury. It's not happening. I'm back on the tank for Zach Wilson train. This season, it was nice for like 2 weeks, but we're back to reality. They're not going to win. It's a bad matchup. The Giants can't move the ball. And last week against the Cardinals, they gave up, I think it was 8 or 9 sacks, which is just ridiculous. And you're playing a front four that includes Myles Garrett. That's a recipe for disaster. That's not going to go well. The whole story about the Giants receivers, they can't create any separation. It's true. Their route running has been terrible, and now they don't even have their offensive coordinator. Freddie Kitchens, former Browns head coach, will be the OC for the Giants this week. It's not going to matter at all. Anyone who thinks it's going to matter is just creating a fake storyline. It's not going to do anything. Yeah, the number is it's up to -6.5 now in favor of the Browns. I'm comfortable playing anything under a touchdown. I think the Browns will beat the Giants by more than the touchdown. So I'll lay the number -6.5.
I couldn't agree more. I was laughing hysterically at my phone when I saw that Freddie Kitchens would be doing the play calling for the Giants this week. I didn't realize you had both Kitchens and Jason Garrett, if I'm being quite honest. I don't know what made you sign 2 terrible head coaches, but sure.
They're good positional coaches. They're just bad head coaches.
Sure, whatever you say. But without James Bradbury, this Giants defense doesn't have enough, especially on the outside where the Browns have so many skill position guys. And that offensive line on the Browns has been so much better this year with Joel Bitonio, J.C. Treader, even Conklin from Tennessee has been a fantastic addition for them. And Myles Garrett might actually murder Colt McCoy. He might just kill him outright, and there will be death on the field, because this could be bad. I genuinely think this might be the only bad game of the year, just because of all the things coming together for the Giants. Without Danny Dimes, although that might be a positive, who knows? Without James Bradbury, that hurts. Losing Jason Garrett may be positive too, but who knows? This team doesn't have enough, in my opinion, specifically on the offensive end. We know the Browns can score points. That's the one thing they've proven, is that, they will have a big game, but the Giants the Giants offense just isn't going to score more than 14 points. They're not, and you can't take them otherwise. So I'll take the Browns -6 easily. And I'm big on Donovan Peoples-Jones' first touchdown scorer.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I'll agree with you guys. If Daniel Jones plays in this game, I think it's reckless. I don't know how he's been practicing. Ethan, you told us before he's been getting first team reps. So maybe he looks good, but if he is not able to run, he should not be playing in this game. That's number one. I will take the Browns -6. I'm not, I don't bet against my Giants. I will never do that. I don't ever bet against my teams unless they're the New York Knicks and they're not very good. But I'll take the Browns here -6. I think this game won't be close. Giants have too many holes right now. It's amazing how we go sky high with the Giants last week, and now we're at rock bottom with them this week.
The last thing I will say about starting Daniel Jones, because they're going to do this, is that in my diabolical mind, it might be a good thing, because if he plays and he doesn't perform, more people will say maybe he's not the guy, and they could look to actually move on to a quarterback instead of trying to force something that's not there. But I think the word you used was reckless. Playing him is so reckless for this guy's health behind a banged up offensive line. That would just be disgraceful. I think Dave Gettleman might run on the field and protect his boy if Daniel Jones just gets sent out there. But it's going to be ugly. But hey, at least we're on Sunday Night Football. It's a nice change up.
Yes. Yeah. First time since 2018, the Giants are on SNF. Let's do some lock teasers. Everybody will give our one teaser that's an absolute lock. I'll start out here. Last week was a good week for me, teaser wise. So hope you take my teaser. Those of you at home, I'll go with the Bills pick'em, Packers -2, and the Colts -1.5 against the Texans. The Texans are just lifeless right now. I think it's an easy pick. Colts are at home. Buy down the points. I think that's too easy to take. Ethan, we'll go to you next. Give us your lock teaser of the week.
So my lock teaser, it's a combination of the Saturday teaser that I mentioned before, the Bills down to a pick 'em and the Packers down to -1.5 or -2. Then we throw in the Chiefs. I love teasing the Chiefs over the key number of +4. I think them getting 4 against the Saints is great. And then, I mean, like, this is up to you personally. You could either throw in Seattle or you could throw in the Browns instead. They're both -6.5, so they would tease down to the same thing. I kind of like the Browns instead of Seattle. So we'll do Bills, pick 'em, Packers -1.5, Chiefs +4, and the Browns -1.5 as well as my lock teaser of the week.
This has to be the most square hole game or square hole week of the entire year. I'm literally just doing that all over the place. But my lock teaser of the week, I will take both of the Saturday games teased down. I think that's an unbelievable value teaser wise. I'll tease the Buccaneers down to the half, and then I'll also tease the Cardinals down to the half. So Packers -2, Bills pick 'em, Buccaneers half, Cardinals half. I think is absolute money this week. Although I know, the Jalen Hurts mania in Philadelphia might go crazy, but I don't trust the Eagles to win back-to-back games, much less win any games. So I'll tease the Cardinals down and go with that. And before we go, just so we make sure, people have their right sources here. I know Ethan didn't record his picks from last week, I think, but
I have them here this week, so we're good.
You have them ready to go. I got them all down. I was 6-4 last week, feeling pretty good about myself. Which I wish I actually took my picks that I said on the show. I would have actually made money. But 6-4 last week. My 5-team teaser that was a lock last week got screwed. Thank you to the Saints for somehow losing to the Eagles. I appreciated that. So did my bank account. But I'll say teaser of the week, Packers -2, Bills pick 'em, Buccaneers -0.5, Cardinals -0.5. Lock it in. And don't forget, Equanimeous St. Brown and Donovan Peoples-Jones, first touchdown scores.
That's bold right there. I'm not a big fan of first touchdown scores. I think that's the hardest bet ever to hit.
Just gotta have fun with it, though.
Yeah, that's what we want you to do. We want you to have fun.
This is all done responsibly. Responsible gambling is key.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. So you heard it from us. Make sure you take what we tell you to take, because from this point forward, we are keeping track of how we do.
It was the preseason last week. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Week 14 was the preseason. Well, guys, it's been a blast. Hope everybody has a good week 15, a good football Sunday, and a successful one with your bets this week. So take our picks. You heard it here. For Jeffrey Roby, for Ethan Greenberg, I'm Josh Leeper. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next time.